Ali Mazrui says passionately and eloquently at once that Africa is the only continent on earth that consumes that which it does not produce and produces that which it does not consume. And he says, curiously, we are the only continent on earth that is still referred to in the following derogatory terms: Anglophone Africa, Francophone Africa, Lusophone Africa, and those who are generous even refer to some part of Africa as Arabophone Africa. He says they do not say that of Latin America, they do not say that of Asia. And if you doubt Ali Mazrui, there is now a war that is going on in the Cameroons and is characterized as a war between the Francophones and the Anglophones. But if you go to the so-called Anglophone area, no more than 5% can speak eloquent French. Yet there are many ethnicities in that part of the world. And I'm submitting to us that this is important because it demonstrates that there is something in our minds that we have yet to liberate ourselves. We have yet to decolonize our mind, which Ngugi wa Thiong'o says is the prerequisite to our total liberation so that we can engage with the world meaningfully.
4.
When God is upstairs and is looking down upon his earth and is looking at his children, he must hold his chin and said, these children that I put in Africa, what happened? You foolish.
3.
Europe tells us many useful things, but there are certainly useless things that they tell us. One of them is the thing called per capita income. That they take all the wealth, half of which is owned by 2 people, and then they divide it and say the per capita income is $800. And meanwhile, all other people are suffering. I'm submitting to us that time has come that we must define what development is. I want to go to a typical Rwandese village, and beyond peace, beyond the absence of war, I want to see peace at the dinner table. I want to see peace at the hospital and the dispensary. And I'm suggesting to us that politics defines all these. There is no one size fits all. What works for Rwanda is not necessarily what works for Uganda. In 1984, the Ethiopians came up with a constitution which I think is the only one in the world that defines itself on the basis of ethnic identity and even allows the ethnicities to secede under certain conditions. Whether it has worked or not, I think the jury is still out. But they recognize the fact that ethnicities are real. And if we continue to delude ourselves in Africa that ethnicities are unreal, we are cheating ourselves. Even the United States of America nowadays, when you hear them talking about the vote, they talk about the Hispanic vote. They talk about the black vote. They talk about the Caucasian vote. They are beginning to recognize that those blocks are critical. How then do you use them in a manner that is positive? Because look at the Democratic Republic of Congo with over 233 ethnicities. Look at Nigeria with over 200 languages. Look at Kenya with over 56. Look at Tanzania with 136 plus. These are the realities in the African nation.
2.
A friend of mine went to South Korea and he said he was amazed. He was a PhD holder and he had gone on these typical visits that Africans are fond of doing, called benchmarking. So he went there into a polytechnic and was talking to a young South Korean who was in an agricultural institute, and he produced a little equipment that he was working on for purposes of improving agriculture in rural South Korea. And he asked him, you are PhD, what have you produced? What have you produced? Because you have a PhD in agricultural engineering, what have you produced? And I'm saying that you who are the intellectuals in the making, you must now begin to ask whether Africa is capable of feeding herself. And there is evidence that Africa is capable of feeding herself. As a young student in the 1980s, before Mugabe and his acolytes messed up Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe was called the bread basket of Southern Africa. Whenever you heard that somebody was going to Harare, the first thing you asked them, buy me a shirt, because they had a thriving textile industry. As I speak to you now, there is 90% unemployment in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has no currency. Zimbabwe is tottering along because we did not allow people with the knowledge to play a critical role in the process of re-energization and reinvigoration of Zimbabwe. One African government minister owns more than his entire village. And the tragedy is that that minister still goes to church on Sunday and says, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, and their will be done on earth." And he is the thief of gigantic proportions, stealing on an industrial scale. I'm submitting to us that the problem of Africa is one of leadership. We have seen in Dubai, in the middle of a desert, each one of us who is a middle class here will have gone to Dubai, or your dream is that you go to Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Doha in Qatar. When you are leaving Windhoek to go to Europe and other places, you will take Qatar Airline, Etihad Airline, or the Emirates. These little Arab countries that have emerged, why are they doing so well? Leadership. It all falls on and rises on leadership.
I'm a king, yes, I'm a king, I'm a king,